Welcome back to another Film Geek video, and welcome to the final video of 2024. Guys, this has been one crazy year for the channel. I am super fortunate that I have had some of the really cool things that have happened to me this year. The beginning of the year, we kicked things off with 1,000 subscribers, and this has also been one of my biggest year for subscribers yet. I have received over 600 new subscribers to the channel, and guys, I am so excited to welcome you all here to the Film Geek. And today I am doing something I have never done before on this channel, and that is a worst of list. Now, back in the early days of the channel, I did do a video called 10 movies I hate but everyone else loves, and that's probably one of the most negative videos I've done. I've tried to keep a pretty upbeat and positive attitude when it comes to cinema because of it being art, and art is subjective. We're not always going to agree on the same thing when it comes to art. However, films are unique because film is art that people can afford. It's still one of the most accessible things out there for entertainment that people have today. It's still one of the biggest things that families do together. People take their first dates at movies, so on. This is the thing about theaters and cinema. It is still, dare I say, a product for consumers. And when you get a really good product, you sing it to the mountaintops and you love that product. But then when you get a bad product, we don't want to talk about it. We want to just sweep it under the rug and move on with our lives. But the thing is, guys, is that sometimes you need to hold them accountable for putting out bad products. Because in all honesty, guys, the movies I'm talking about today, they were supposed to be products. They were just things that were being thrown out there for us to consume. It's not necessarily good. It's not necessarily bad. It's just slop that they're throwing out there for us so we consume and eat like good little piggies. So I decided, you know what? It's enough of people getting away with this. I need to say what I dislike. It's enough of Mr. Nice Guy, Mr. Positive Vibes. It's time for me to talk about the worst movies of 2024. I was going to do honorable mentions on this one, but I decided, nah, I just mixed them all in. Now, I did this in the same format that I've done with my other two videos, the best movies or best films of 2024 and the best horror films of 2024, and that is a ranking format. Each month, I do a video where I rank all of the movies I saw in that month. So this time around, I've gone through each month and I've picked out the worst movie of each month. Now, not every one of them had a movie that could be considered a worst of movie, but don't worry, there were plenty of months out there that just kept generating the bullshit. So don't worry, guys, I've got plenty of ranting to do. So it's time to grab yourself a big old bucket of popcorn because we're heading over to the big old series of tubes we call the internet, the information superhighway, so we can rank the worst 12 movies of 2024. Welcome to the information superhighway, people. Let's get this party started. Now, one thing I want to say before I get started here is the first few films on this list, they're not god-awful movies. They're just not that great. You know, they fall in the okay-ish category, or they were streaming films that were, you know, suitable enough, something like that. What I like to call laundry folders. Movies that exist so you can have something on in the background while you're doing housework. And so that's what the first few films are, and then we're going to get down into the god-awful why does this movie exist, and then holy shit, I wasted my money, back in the very bottom of this list. So let's get this party started, and you know, I am not really anticipating greatness here, so I actually brought along an extra brewski just in case, because I have a feeling many drinks will be had on this list. Okay, let's get going. Number 12. Number 12 on the list is a movie that I didn't hate, but I was very, very disappointed in, and that is Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. This film was boring and pointless, and it was nothing but overloaded fan service and nostalgia bait, and in the worst possible way ever. This film reminds me of a sketch that used to be on Saturday Night Live. It was the Chris Farley show, where Chris Farley would just be sitting there in a chair, and like Paul McCartney would be sitting next to him, and Chris would be like, "Hey, you remember that time that you were on, or you're one of those Beatles?" That was so cool, man. That's so cool. That's exactly what this movie's like. It just kind of puts stuff in front of you, and it's just like, see, it's the Stay Puft Marshmallows. They're that cool. Isn't that cool? This car. It looks like the Ecto One. It's cool, right? See how cool it is. Oh, it just got so irritating. The story itself was just boring. The villain of this film. Holy crap, if you want to call this film's villain a villain, he doesn't even hardly do anything until the very end of the movie. They just talk about the prophecy of this guy for the whole damn film, and then he finally shows up, and he doesn't do anything. The name of the movie is Frozen Empire. He freezes a couple of guys, and there's a few spikes that fall at a beach. Basically, everything that you saw at the freaking trailer was it. That was it. That was the most, like, cool stuff in the movie. Every one of the guys, they had their own story, they had their own thing going on, and so it just kind of felt like a bunch of little sketches put together into a film, and it just never really came in for me. It didn't really need to exist. It just did not need to exist. This film seemed to me like nothing more than nostalgia bait to try to get you to spend money on another line of action figures that are coming out, which will probably be based off of like the real Ghostbusters TV series or something. Just something to whet your appetite, so you go out there and you buy more big old pieces of plastic. That's the only reason I feel this movie existed. Okay, that brings me to another movie that, because it's on a streaming service, makes it like, okay, I guess. If you would have seen this movie in theaters, it would have probably really pissed you right off, and that is Dear Santa. Okay. Dear Santa tells the story of a little boy who writes a lovely letter off to Dear Santa, to Santa Claus, the Santa Claus. But here's the thing, guys. This poor child is dyslexic. He mixes up a couple of letters in Santa, and he gets Satan. And guess what? Guess what? This is the wackiest thing ever. Satan is played by Jack Black. So, you know what to expect. Ooh, we've got silliness, and it's gonna be fun. And it has the potential. In all honesty, this film had a lot of potential to be fun, to just be this weird, silly little holiday freaking movie. And it starts off that way. I mean, in all honesty, the first bit of this film, it's not great. Don't get me wrong. I'm judging it off of the fact that it's not like the worst thing ever, okay? It's watchable. And then in the third act, the movie becomes completely different. It has no idea how to end. And it's not hard. There's really a lot of ways this movie could have gone. And they went in a completely weird route. This movie, it doesn't necessarily come to us from the Farley brothers. It is just really one of them. Not long ago, the two of them stopped doing directing together, and I don't know. There's no animosity to the best of my understanding. It's just that one of the Farley brothers just kind of got tired of directing. And since that moment, it hasn't been as funny, to be perfectly honest. It's like they need to be working together in that director's seat to really get a good, funny film out there. And this one, it definitely wasn't. It had potential. The kids were great. I had a lot of fun with the jokes and whatnot. There's a goofy little scene with Post Malone and all. Like, fun was had in this movie. It's just not ending well. And the way the movie ends, it just destroys the movie. It's just basically my opinion. You get to the end of the film and you're like, that's stupid. And that's the end of it. I mean, yes, the whole movie's stupid. Don't get me wrong. But if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, so moving on to number 10. Number 10, oh, I forgot to mention, Dear Santa is a Paramount Plus exclusive. And that brings us to another, what I think is a Paramount Plus exclusive, and that is our number 10, Apartment 7A. Apartment 7A. Oh boy. Apartment 7A is everything that's wrong with prequels. This film serves no purpose and doesn't need to exist. However, I was intrigued and I watched it. 7A is the story of the woman who dies at the beginning of Rosemary's Baby that sets off all of the sets off the entire movie of Rosemary's Baby. It's the very beginning. It's what gets the couple into the apartment building and so on. And this movie tells the story of the woman who fell from the window. Okay, there's potential there. There's some interesting stuff that could be going on there, but unfortunately, this movie doesn't need to exist. It doesn't do anything. It doesn't bring anything new to the table. It doesn't, enhance the lore whatsoever. It was just plain and boring. And when you get to the very end of it, which, mind you, the end of this film is probably one of the best and most well executed points of the entire movie, it's just like, okay, all right, this makes me want to watch Rosemary's Baby, only because I want to see something better than this. And it just isn't that the movie shouldn't exist. It serves no purpose to adding anything to the story whatsoever. It doesn't expand the lore. It doesn't add anything to the experience. It's just there. It's one of those movies, and I don't know if this is true or not. It just feels like something that had to be made in order for them to be able to keep the rights to Rosemary's Baby, on the off chance that they do something like a remake or something like that. So that's the only thing I can see the reason this movie exists in the first place. And that brings us to another film. And now this one goes into family entertainment. And I'm not normally hard on family entertainment or animated films that are for kids and all that, because they're directed towards children and all. But when they're bad, they're bad. I mean, Charming Amy was halfway through this movie and just decided, you know what, it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to bed. That's how bad this movie is. She just did not like it. It was just so boring. And that is Spellbound. Okay, so Spellbound tells the story of a princess whose parents have been turned into monsters, and she goes on an adventure to try to get her parents turned back into humans. It's an allegory of divorce, basically. It all comes into the fact that the two of them are being nasty to one another, so they become monsters. And it had potential. It had potential, and I will stand by this, because I feel that talking about divorce to kids is important. In the United States, 50% of marriages end in divorce. I've been divorced. So why can't those 50% of kids have a movie that helps them through a difficult time in their life? And I think what bothers me the most is that this film could have been a movie to help those kids get through a difficult time in their life. To go, you know what? This princess who's strong and brave, her parents are divorced and they're doing just fine. They still love her a whole bunch. Everything seems okay in the kingdom. But the movie sucks. Getting up to the point where they finally let you know what this is all about is just boring and bland. It moves like from one set piece to another. It doesn't really flow like an adventure film. It's just like, okay, here we are, something happens, we move forward, something happens, we move forward. Oh, and don't forget, this is an animated film for the family, so of course there's songs. And they're terrible. They're just boring. They don't stick with you whatsoever. And here's the thing, the voice acting in this film isn't terrible. I do like the voice acting in this movie. It has a great cast, and they do try to do the best they possibly can. It's just that the movie itself, the script is awful, the story is awful, and there's nothing you can do with this. The animation is just boring. It is just like any other CGI animation that you're gonna see. And I'm sorry, folks, I hate to always bring up Spider-Verse in situations when I talk about animation, but the reason I want to bring it up is because here's a studio, Sony said, we're gonna try something different and we're gonna see what happens, and it worked. Here's a studio that has the opportunity to do something different, and they went, I'm gonna play it safe. And that's what I can't stand. When the field that you're putting a movie at, when the medium that you're working in expands, you expand with it. And this seemed more like a Saturday morning cartoon that went on for too long than it did a feature-length film. All right, let's move on, shall we? I'm going to stop beating up a kid's movie. All right, so now we're going to get into what I like to call a so bad it's good film. I need a big old drink. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and take another. All right. And that is M. Night Shyamalan's Trap. Oh my God. I cannot believe, I can't wrap my head around people enjoying this movie. I just can't. This film is it's a concert, it's a pop concert that has a movie going on around it. Now, here's the thing. So this is a story, all right? So a man takes his daughter to go see this super pop star perform. Let's just say Taylor Swift, all right? The big recognizable pop star. So anyways, they go see this pop star. Well, while he's there, a merch vendor who seems to know everything tells him some weird stuff is going on, man. It seems that this concert is a big trap, and the FBI is looking for a bad dude. He's a murderer and psychopath, and they know he's going to be at this concert because I guess he just loves pop music. I don't remember. Oh, yeah, I remember now how they knew he was going to be there. Anyways. Oh my God. Movie's got me coughing. So anyways, this merch vendor who knows everything about what's going on lets him know about the serial killer and all. Well, here's the twist-a-rooney, right? This dad, he's that killer. Oh my goodness, the wackiness ensues. The pointless, useless wackiness ensues. Nothing in this movie makes sense. Nothing. None of the motivation, none of the way things work out. The way he has this he slips out of things. None of it makes sense. He's not like outsmarting people in this movie. He's not outthinking them. He's not outmaneuvering them. Just he's doing weird shit and people react to it, and for some odd reason it just works out for him throughout the entire movie. So what I meant by this movie is a pop concert with a movie happening around it. So M. Night Shyamalan, and now first off, I would say something at the end of this, okay? M. Night Shyamalan's daughter, one of his daughters, is a up-and-coming pop star, or at least she wants to be a musician. And to be perfectly honest, she's not bad. I mean, the music in this film was hers, and there's a lot of it. I believe they play an entire album. It's a concert. M. Night Shyamalan threw a concert for his daughter and made a movie around it. And I can't tell if that's a baller move or not. I can't tell. Because in all honesty, guys, it's kind of cool. I mean, the movie's not cool by any means. But here's the thing, dude. This guy wants his daughter to succeed so much, he made a horrible movie, but the music isn't bad. The concert itself is actually pretty good. It's what you would expect from a big stage performance concert. And like some of the best shot parts of this film is the concert. And I honestly think that M. Night Shyamalan should start filming live events. I really do, because he had an eye for it. I mean, it looked good. And the music is the best part. But yes, it is a concert. You get a full-blown album when you go see the movie Trap or watch it on whatever streaming service it's on. This feels like a Hulu movie to me. I hate to say that, but yeah, I bet you this thing's on Hulu. Nothing against Hulu. They're fine. They're great. That's where I watch my kitchen nightmares, but this just seems like a movie that would make its way to Hulu. But yeah, honestly, in all honesty, M. Night. Let's have some time here, M. Night. Let's have some time here, okay? Eyeball to eyeball, all right? M. Night. I feel you, my man. I feel you. I would want the best for my children, too. If I could do this, if I could create a concert for my daughter and film it and make it a movie, I do it. All right. So, you know what? Baller move. All right. Baller move. Moving on. Movie's terrible. I want to add that, but all this stuff. Baller move. Okay, so that brings us to the unwatchable bullshit that came out in 2024. Now, there was some really good horror movies that came out in 2024. I mean, a lot of really good horror films. Just check out my best of 2024 horror films because there's some absolute gems on that list. I try to give a nice variety of different types of horror, splatter, comedy, so on and so forth. But here we're getting into the dark, bad side of horror. These were the bad. There's some bad horror too. And unfortunately, a lot of it found its way to this list. And one of these movies actually ended up being the movie that created this list. And it's not even the worst movie on the list. So here we go. Moving on, moving on, moving on. And that is Tarot. All right, Tarot. Tarot is another PG-13 horror film that had a lot of potential and growth. I feel like this had it could have really brought in younger viewers into horror. This film had it. It could do it. So it tells the story of a group of friends who come across a tarot card deck. And of course, one of them surprisingly knows how it works. And these tarot cards come to life, and each one of the people who got a tarot card reading is killed off in the manner of whatever tarot card, right? Okay, sounds cool, right? There's potential here, but it sucked. It's so boring, man. This movie's not scary. It's boring. It's horribly executed. The acting is terrible. Everything is situational crap. Like I was making the joke about the tarot card deck. This girl just knows how it works. And then they do the whole thing where she's like, you shouldn't really do this, but, I'm going to do it anyways. They say that you're only supposed to use your own tarot card deck. But you know what? Fuck it. Let's see what happens, guys. Let's use this tarot card deck. I know it's bad, but let's do it anyways. I can't stand shit like that. It's just a MacGuffin horror film that is pointless. It's just there to take young people's money, disposable income, that delicious teenage disposable income that Hollywood wants to get their fingers on. Well, guess what? Here's the thing. You can get your hands on a lot of that money if you make a good goddamn PG-13 horror film. It exists. They're out there. There are good PG-13 horror films. This is not one of them. There is one scene in this movie, because one of the characters is the magician, right? And that scene was actually pretty freaking well executed. So it showed me that the people who made this movie knew what the hell they were doing. They just didn't care. They just didn't care to have the same quality for every moment in that film. And that's what makes this movie a cash grab. When you can look at the film and tell that the people who made this movie, they didn't care. They were getting paid. And that's, sometimes that's okay, right? But at the end of the day, when you're trying to make something that brings in viewers to a genre that, that could be a jumping off, that could be a creating for them, this movie doesn't do it, man. It doesn't do it. It's going to alienate. It's not going to create. Now we're going to move on to another absolutely terrible horror film, and that is the one that literally created this list. The Exorcism, again. Uh-oh. It happened. Ready? ASMR. Okay, we're having fun tonight, aren't we, folks? We're having fun. This is fun, right? You and I here in the moment, having fun. Yeah. All right, so The Exorcism, starring Russell Crowe, who previously starred in another movie about an exorcist. This time, he's the one being possessed. He's got the spirit of the demon in him now. Holy crap, this movie is terrible. This film... All right, let's try to give the synopsis. I can't remember so many things about this movie. Okay, so this movie tells the story of an actor who gets a call one day. This actor is dealing with his own personal demons. And this is played by Russell Crowe. It just so happens that he's taking over for another actor who has died. He died filming a movie that's probably The Exorcist. They never say that they're filming The Exorcist. They're just like, oh, that one. And they give hints and everything, right? And they try to play this off of the fact that there was strange and weird occurrences that did happen, or at least people say happened, during the filming of The Exorcist. So, that's what this movie's supposed to be. But it's dumb. It's so bad. It's just a boring, bland exorcism film that doesn't need to exist. It just doesn't need to exist. It starts off making you think that this is going to be a really cool, like, allegory horror, right? It's a metaphor for, generational trauma, some alcoholism, drug use and all, because Russell Crowe's character has this past and all. And it really leans into that idea that this is part of his addictive problems, because he's like one of those actors who hasn't worked in a while because of his alcoholism and all. So there was a lot of stuff that this movie could have built on, and they didn't. They didn't. And they still could have made it scary. They still could have made it suspenseful and dread-filled. And they just decided, you know what? He really does have a demon in him. He's possessed by the demons. I can't stand it. They spent so much time in this movie wasting your goddamn time, making you think that he's not possessed by a demon, that he just has a problem with alcohol and drugs, just to find out he's a fucking demon. What? All right, moving on. The Exorcism. Damn. Okay, so another... we're having fun, right? This is fun. Okay, so another pile of dog shit. I never get to talk this way because I always try to do the negatives and positives, and I always try to find nice things to say about movies. So this is fun. I don't get to just shit. I just don't get to shit on movies very often. And I mean, we're in the area where they deserve it. They deserve their shit. And that is not the Imaginary, because that was actually pretty good, but Imaginary. Okay, again, this is another one I can't remember a whole lot of the plot points on, and I'm not gonna watch this goddamn movie before I make the video. Are you crazy? So this movie tells the story of a little girl whose imaginary friend is bad. Okay, there you go. There's like a doll involved in it that doesn't really need to be there. It's basically, I don't know, imaginary friends gone bad. It's not, it's okay. It's evil drop dead Fred. Okay, there you go. Evil drop dead Fred. That is what this movie is. It's stupid. It's pointless. It's another pile of crap PG-13 horror film. I do believe this one came out in January or March. I can't remember, but it was one of those months where it was like literally a weekend where nothing was really going on. And I was like, God damn it, I'm going to have to go see fucking Imaginary. I went into this movie thinking it was going to be ass. And I was right. It was ass. This movie was ass. Ass. I don't have anything nice to say about this film. I think I did. I think I did say that the actors did the best they could with what they had, which I do say that a lot. Not that that's an excuse or anything. Actors generally do try to do the best they can. I've noticed a lot of the times in movies like that, in low-budget horror, because they really, every time they get these roles, they're really hoping it's the one that's going to break them in, right? And so I do feel like the actors did a good job, as best as they possibly could. There was just so much misdirecting. Like, the little girl in this movie is just so strange. Like, not strange in a good way, it's just her mannerisms, the way she acts. It just doesn't feel like a natural little girl. Like, and I don't blame the actor. I think that was horrible directing, to be perfectly honest. This movie, while it has some moments that, like, it doesn't. All right, I'm not gonna sit here and make excuses. This movie was shit. It was dog shit. Don't watch Imaginary. If you see it on a streaming service, and you're like, shit, I got an hour and a half. Take the hour and a half. Don't watch this movie. Just sit in silence, in darkness. Sit in silence and darkness, because that's better than Imaginary. Okay, I'm done now. Oh no! So that brings us to another film that, oh my gosh. This movie. Alright, so this is a Netflix original, and I literally can't remember much of anything except that there's Kevin Hart in it, and he plays a thief, and that is Lift. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Kevin Hart plays a cat burglar, the best in the world, because, Kevin Hart is known for his cat burgling skills. So, yeah, this is supposed to be kind of like Ocean's 11, but there's never really a heist. It's just kind of like an excuse to go on vacation in other countries, I think. Yeah, I think that's enough on Lift. Yeah. Moving on, talking about number 3. Number 3 is Rebel Moon Part 2. The Scar Giver. That's the best I could do with that. God damn, what a stupid fucking name. Let's just talk about that really quick, can we? Can we talk about how dumb that sounds? Like, the Scar Giver, Taser face. Come on, man, the Scar Giver. Ah, dude, like that is such 13-year-old edgelord cringe. I can't even fathom, like, the name of this movie is just so dumb. Why not just Rebel Moon Part 2, okay? Just Rebel Moon Part 2. The name of this movie, let me know going into it. Here we go. So this tells the end of Bug's life. Hopper is on his way to pick up his grain from the bugs. Now, the bugs, Flick has gone out and he's collected all of the warrior bugs. And the warrior bugs are chilling, hanging with the people. The warrior bugs are helping out grow the grain. And that's about, 2.5 hours of growing grain? I forget. It was in slow motion, too. So, yeah, anyway, so they grow the grain, right? And they're waiting for Hopper. And Hopper shows up. Okay, so, Rebel Moon. Don't watch it. Don't watch it. And I hate saying that because I am a fan of Zack Snyder's work. I like what he's done in the past. I do not know what's going on right now with him. I just don't. This movie was a bait and switch, and I know it. This was Netflix trying to recreate the Justice League phenomenon. And it was so dumb. Because you put out these movies, and then they're like, oh, don't worry, Zack Snyder's going to put out his super valid, super awesome version. So get ready. These are just the crappy ones. Netflix said, you know what? These movies have to be PG-13 because we got to get a lot more people to buy tickets. Wait, what? This movie didn't have to be PG-13. This movie didn't have to suck. Okay? It's on Netflix. It's on Netflix. Dude, this could have just been a damn series or something, okay? I mean, it's dumb. It was so bad. It was so bad. So poorly executed. It's bad. It's bad, man. It's bad, okay? It's bad. It's bad. God damn, I don't do this often. I'm having fun here, people. This is me having fun. Lighthearted Chris having good times. Aw, damn. I'm not going to edit that out. I'm leaving it in. We're rolling. Okay. Shit talk movies, dribble down yourself. Moving on to number 2. Now, a lot of you might put this at your number 1, but I'm going to put it at number 2 because my number 1, oh man. And that is Joker 2. I mean, what can I say about this movie that hasn't been said already? I mean, this was probably one of the worst received films of 2024. Fans hated it. Critics hated it. I think the director hated it. I do. I really think I do. I think that he sabotaged it. I argue he was trying to be so different from the first movie that he made this pile of garbage, or he was kind of pushed into this and he's like, okay, you're going to give me a bigger budget. We're going to make a musical. I don't know what this movie was. I don't know what Joker 2 was for or who it was for. But I don't believe that it destroys the first film because the first film still exists. You can still sit and watch the movie. It didn't harm the first film. It's just forget about it. Just forget about this movie. Make it go away. And then enjoy the first film. Because trust me, in 20 years, no one will remember this movie existed. It is just going to float off into the ether to never be heard from again. And that brings us to our next film. A movie so foul that I think it will always be remembered as one of the worst remakes, reimaginings, readaptations, or whatever weird-ass excuse you want to give for The Crow. Now, I'm going to start this by saying Skarsgård was pretty damn good. I honestly think that was solid casting. I saw him in Boy Kills World, and the man can handle action. I thought he was a great pick. I was not a fan of this being a remake of Eric Draven. This is a series that you can throw a sequel onto and it doesn't fucking matter, because every sequel of this movie is a remake. They just do the same damn thing the first film did, just worse each goddamn time. The first movie is cinema art. It's a beautiful gothic love story with revenge and retribution. I feel none of that in this film. This was such a misfire, I don't know what they were thinking. There is an entire scene where he just, like, the most action you get is him taking out people that have nothing to do with this. In the movie and in the comic book, it is all about retribution and revenge. He only goes after the people who deserve it, the ones that caused his girlfriend, fiancés to die. Those are the people, the mindless, senseless killing of his girlfriend. He is a spirit of vengeance that will stop at nothing to kill you, to get his revenge. You cannot stop this force. He is a force of nature. Nothing you throw at the crow can stop him. And that is not the crow we got. We got a crow that spent more than half of the movie trying to deal with the fact that he wants to kill people. My brother in Christ, you're a spirit of vengeance. You don't care. You don't care. You only go after the people who deserve it. You are motherfucking Ghost Rider. But no. The best fighting scene in this entire thing is him going to town on people who have nothing to do with anything. There is no real bond that you ever feel between the two. There's no, you're like, okay, so there are a couple of junkies who fuck. That's all you really get with these two. You don't have this intense love that Eric Draven had. It's not in this film. It's just, oh man, she's dead. That sucks. I guess I gotta whine about how now I gotta go kill people. But this film was pointless. It didn't seem to serve any need. I don't know if this was something that they did so they could keep the rights. It seems like it. I just don't know. This movie doesn't exist for fans of the original film or even the comic book, because this movie has absolutely nothing to do with the comic book. It just exists. This character, Eric Draven, has absolutely nothing to do with the real Eric Draven. Enough said. I could go on. There's so much to unpack in this film. So much to unpack in this film that I could go on and on and on. But I'm not. I'm going to woo-saw and move on. So there you have it, guys. Those are the worst films of 2024. So saith me. Hey guys, thanks again for checking out The Film Geek. This has been an amazing year. As I was saying before, I have the fortunate that I have gotten so many new subscribers. Thank you so much for coming in, commenting, talking to me, liking my videos, helping them get into the algorithm. You guys are the best. This is something that I am so excited to do for you, to get out there, watch these movies, because, you know, if I'm not going to do it, it's going to be somebody else, right? And this has also been a really cool year, like all sorts of neat stuff. Right at the end of the year, being contacted by AMC to check out their popcorn buckets and all. I've done the Sonic the Hedgehog review, my movie review. I also check out the popcorn bucket. Expect some more reviews moving forward. I can't tell you what I have, but there's going to probably be some cool stuff in the year 2025. So thank you so much for checking out The Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And if there's one more thing you could do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.